Well, good evening, everyone. It is right now 6 o'clock on the money, last trading day of January, Wednesday the 31st. Hope you're having a great day. For those of you who have remained patient, I will say that yes, patience is a virtue and something that I have consistently had to learn over the course of time. I am not a patient person, as many of those who are closest to me will attest that, especially when I was on a lacrosse field, that's when I can honestly say I did not have patience for those who didn't follow instructions. But for those of you who are following the instructions brought forth by the 7-point trading checklist, I just want to quickly go over the markets here and show you what I'm seeing on the monthly charts, okay? That little green candle is known as a spinning top. This is for the diamonds now. And the big tell on that chart is the pivot on the CCI. That's coming out of one of the highest readings in just about 7 years. One of the highest readings of the CCI, now pivoting lower after Powell basically put the kibosh on interest rate talk of lowering the rates. I think they're still remaining hawkish, and I think that spooked the market today, but that is not any surprise to me, especially for those of you who have been following along on the weekly market report. Now, moving on to IWM, this is going to look a little different. That is not a positive candle whatsoever. That is a monthly chart of IWM, and that is a very clear bearish harami right there. Small little body candle falling within the green body. Here was a bearish harami. See that? Here was a bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing. See all these? Bearish harami. Notice what's happened after every single one of these bearish candles. Bearish engulfing, bearish haramis being one and the same as far as the magnitude of the sell signal. And every single one of those going back to 2021 has resulted in lower price action in the market. Is that a guarantee that we're going to drop in the coming months? No, of course not. It's not a guarantee, but it's a great indication that the probability is high that it will. Now, in addition to that, on the monthly chart, look at the negative divergence that we see on the CCI. After a slightly higher high last month, we have lower highs on the CCI. Again, very bearish. Looking at QQQ, the most manipulated market out of all of them, look, what do we have? Spinning top, huge negative divergence on that CCI. Higher high on price, lower high CCI. I think we're getting ready to make the turn lower to more or less advance in this M top that I've been talking about for a number of months now. And so that is looking bearish. If we look at SPY, hinging on the CCI, bumped its head and literally stopped at the matching high. This could very well go down in history as one of the best or most well-formed M tops. If we start to come back down, the next major support level on the spiders is going to be around 3,500. You see this? So this is a critical channel that we're in right now. For those of you who are option traders and have your positions set up with a negative delta, I say congratulations. Again, be patient. Don't overreact. Don't trade too big. Follow the charts. Control your emotions. And I think you're going to be fine. I really do. Quick shout out to Roby. Then I'm going to get back to the VIX. Roby put on a Costco trade and has recently taken it off. And Roby, I don't mean to embarrass you because I know you're a private person, but I got to tell everyone what you've done, because this is what the meaning in my book is. The meaning of life is passing it forward. So Roby was able to pull out a nice profit of his Costco spread that he put on. He made $5,333 on that, and he took almost 20% of that and donated it to St. Jude, passed it forward. That's what it's all about, folks. That is absolutely what it's about right there. And we had a couple of folks in the warm-up kind of mention that. We were chatting back and forth with AB, who's pretty new to the service here, thanking me for what he's learned. And I just say, pass it forward, right? That's how you change the world. It might be one person at a time, maybe 5 people at a time. We're not all going to be able to change the world individually, but you start that fuse, you learn how to make money, and I got to tell you, folks, there's nothing better in life than that. I promise you. All right, so thank you, Roby, for that. I really, really appreciate you sharing that bit of information. Now, going to the VIX on the daily, look what's happening. We have a pretty big green candle there, but that's also a half signal. Even though that we have a much higher high today, we did have a slightly lower high, a lower low. But I think that's going to continue higher. Make sure you go to my midweek report, and after you've listened to it, please comment, please like, please share, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe so you get notified when these go out. We're really picking up some momentum on YouTube, and when you think we're picking up momentum on YouTube, Vimeo, we have more than twice the audience on Vimeo since July. So it's really picking up a lot of steam as people are sharing these videos on their social media pages, right? And again, I have all of you to thank for helping us grow that channel. As you will soon see, the more people who learn about technical analysis and the way we do it through the trading checklist, the greater the chances that the signals will follow through, because you have a larger audience of people that are now reacting to the signals, and that is what drives the money in and out of a stock. Speaking of which, SLV, this was one from Dan. It was a star favorite to the upside on a 5-parter. So we have 4 out of the 5. Dan, I was rooting for you. I was hoping that we get up here so I could sell more of my position. But guess what? Yesterday, I sold 5% of my position, and today it's starting to move down. Here's what I think we're going to see. I'm not going to change that upside target, nor are we going to add that to the star favorite list, because this is the most public ticker symbol that I post to Twitter. So I'm reporting on this more than any of the stocks, so we don't have to take up space on the Wednesday call. You just follow me on Twitter and you'll know. But if it comes back down to fill this gap down here, I think it would bounce. So the money that I generated in selling 5% of my position yesterday, that will go right back into the market, allowing me and anyone else who's ghosting my trades to buy more down at the gap fill. That's what parlaying the position is. Taking advantage of a range in a stock where you get in, you get out, you scale in, you scale out, and you buy more. Each time you get back in, the position gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually, when that thing pops like a pressure cooker, then you have more position than you've ever had before. And each time I buy, and John Kuntz is with me on this, each time we buy at the new lower level, we now have accumulated more of that position than any other time in our lives. And right now, that position is getting pretty awesome. And if you look at gold, you look at some of what's happening in the markets with regard to the fiat currencies losing their value, I think gold and silver and some of the other precious metals and gold and mining companies are going to do extremely well. So I'm going to keep that downside target at the gap fill, but we're going to remove that, Dan. I will keep track. If it hits that upside target, Dan, we're going to get some swag out to you for sure. All right, now let's go on. Michael P. was asking about Roku. ROKU is the ticker there. I'm keeping that downside target. You could obviously see that the stock is pivoting lower today after a bearish harami yesterday. See that? We had a drop in volume yesterday. The hinging started to take place on the stochastic. The pivot is now completed on the CCI. I think that downside target is still in place. We will track that, but I'm not going to renew it as a star favorite for next week. I'm going to make room. Downside target still in place for Roku at 85.35, right? So Michael P., congratulations on picking a good one. It looks really good there on the technicals. All right, so now Merck, this is a little bit different. Stuart brought this one out. I'm keeping that downside target on Merck at $115.36. Look at what we have right there. That is a pretty powerful bearish engulfing, because the red candle is not just engulfing yesterday's green, but it's engulfing the past 3 days of green. So that makes it that much more significant. And the increase in volume on that bearish candle is telling me the bears are taking over. Therefore, looking at the oscillators about to cross with a sell signal on the stochastic, about to cross with a sell signal on the CCI, keeping the downside target in place for Merck right there at 115.36. We're going to remove that to the star favorite, but we'll still keep tracking that one. Meta, brought to us by Tommy. Here's another one, making the full-fledged pivot. This was a two-part forecast. We hit the upside target. I think that Meta is on its way down to 358.22. I mean, something's going on in the world when the founder of this company is out in Hawaii building a mega bunker, or a mega bunker in the mountainside of Hawaii. Something is about to break. I think Jeff Bezos is doing the same thing with building bunkers. What the heck is going on? Are they expecting a nuclear war or something? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think Meta's on its way back down. I'm going to keep that on my star favorite list, though. If you take out your trading checklist, I'll do this slowly, but I'm not going to do this on every stock. Take out the trading checklist. You measure the buy versus sell signals. We have a pivot on the candle. We have a drop in volume yesterday, all slight, but an increase on the pivot. That is bearish. We have a wide divergence from the moving average. We have a gap below the market right here. We have the oscillators crossing with a sell signal on stochastic, sell signal on the CCI. There are no buy signals on there. Therefore, that remains on the star favorite list, and I'm going to keep that downside target in place right there as I get that box to come up at 358.22. All right, so Tommy, you are going to be mentioned again next week. Adrian was looking at TDC. TDC is hitting the target, actually hit the target right there. And so it did cross. Look at the moving average. Watch what happens. Look at the little bubble off to the right when I highlight the moving average. You see that? 46.23 is the moving average. Today it closed at 46.18. So it closed 5 cents below that moving average. Therefore, Jim Rubach is going to get a down arrow on that one. And I think this one's going lower. Not a star favorite, but I'm going lower on that one to 45.39, 45.39. So we got another, almost 2% to the downside on that one. Not a star favorite. Adrian, by the way, is the programmer who is tracking our percentage of accuracy on the hit rate. We're currently at 83% success on targets being hit over 66 days. As I mentioned in the midweek report, no one in the world is hitting that number. No one. This is verifiable over 2 years, and it's only going to get better from here, folks. You watch. You stick with sticky trades. You learn how to do this. My goal is to get you and your forecasting abilities up to over 80%. Some of you already at 70, 75%. If you're doing any kind of paper trading or target drawing, please let me know in the chat box right now. What is your percentage of accuracy? I really want to know. Shout out. I'm going to start reading some of those off as I go through some of these others. All right, so let's go to Apple. Rob J. This is Rob Jeffers here. We were talking about Rob over on the Monday night call. This one has hit the downside target for sure. Apple has no shadow above, no shadow below. That is a bearish Marabuzzo, and I think it's going a little bit lower to fill the gap on the downside. So we're going downside at 182.85. 189. I think that gap is going to fill. Not a star favorite, but I think that is definitely one to keep an eye on. Now, Rob, just so you know, for your personal account, once the gap fills, if you get a bounce, you might want to consider buying some of those short calls back and getting ready to pop them out again on the next sell signal. Just have fun with those short calls against your long stock. I just throw that out there for Dr. Rob. He's very much into Apple, and we're doing our best to help him out, just like many of our other VIP clients. All right, so that will not be a star favorite for next week. John K was asking for JB Hunt. Now, this one is a candidate where we put out a put play on this one. It's already up, so we're making money on that one. Keeping the downside target in place on JB Hunt at 197.12. That remains on the star favorite list for the reasons that I mentioned on the trading checklist. Everything on that trading checklist is bearish. There is not one bullish candle or signal on that. Now, if you take a look at what's happening on the weekly on this one, there's the pivot. Look at the oscillators. We got a lot to go. This stock could go a lot further down than my target that I have set here at 197.12. This thing could even drop down to the 20-period moving average on the weekly at 188 or 189. Keep an eye on the transports because the cost of shipping has gone up. That's going to put a crimp in a lot of these trucking companies as companies cut back on spending and maybe even shipping as the economy continues to slow, and it certainly is. Make sure you're paying very close attention to the real numbers, not the manipulated numbers, and you will do absolutely fine in this market. I'm asking every one of you to turn off CNBC and some of the financial programs, unless I'm on it, of course. But you go out and turn that noise off. Follow the charts, look at the real news, not the GDP that's been fudged by government spending, right? That wasn't a real GDP number. It was a big fake out. Government spending is up because hiring is up. They're pumping taxpayers into the GDP to keep us from having to say we're in a recession. Understand, there is big manipulation going on. Don't get caught in the trap. So that's a long story for John K and JBH, but that one I believe is coming down. Now, Vic was asking for BSX. Now, this one stormed up today. How many of you saw this one? But it stormed up on a pretty big red candle right there. Look at the vertical move on the CCI. I may have to abandon that after 66 days, but I'm going to do a short-term target contingent upon a drop in volume. So here we go. A shorter-term target, a little bit higher. I think we're going lower, 62.02. I think we'll get a drop in volume. That will cause the CCI to drop right there and then continue with a sell signal on the stochastic. So we got one downside target, drop. That's contingent upon a drop in volume, by the way. So there's the initial contingency. Then we're going to get these pivots on the oscillators. So downside target adjusted to 62.02. All right, Vic? If you're scaling into that short position, I would wait for that drop in volume before you add to that on a pivot. Okay? All right, let's take a look at Schlumberger. This one was brought to us by Eric, SLB. That one hit the downside target, no problem. Not only did it hit the downside target, but it gapped down. And on top of a hammer showing yesterday, that hammer was squashed by a bullish engulfing. So I think that Schlumberger is going to drop a little bit more. I'm not going too big on this one, and certainly not a star favorite to the downside, but I think 48.18 on Schlumberger has got a little bit more. So Eric, if you're still in it on puts or a bearish position, I would keep an eye on a pivot after this bearish engulfing, and we'll see what happens because the gap is filled down below. See that? So the gap is filled down below, but it left a gap above. So you got to be really careful to protect any profits that you have already banked on that downturn right there. Okay? So that is for Schlumberger. All right, Mark Maybe was OTIS. Look at Otis right here. This is pretty incredible. I'm keeping that as a downside target and I'm keeping it as a star favorite to the downside. Look at that bearish engulfing. Look at that increase in volume. Look at the oscillators. Bam, bam, 1-2 punch right there. I think this one's heading lower, and it could even break out below that support level. So keep an eye on that. And the reason I say that is if you look at the weekly on this one, right, look at that shooting star. See that? That's a shooting star that could very well result in a lower price all the way back down to the 20-week moving average, which would bring it closer to $84. Okay, so Mark, maybe congratulations on that one. Hope you make money. Folks, if I shout your name out, you're making money on these trades, let me know. I love to hear about your success. I love it. What CEO, Rob? The CEO for Otis? Were they trying to talk the market up? Are they in trouble? They got to get the CEO on there? All right, we'll have to see. Anyway, that's Otis. Let's look at Grimmy. Grimmy, I think, is hitting a home run on MU. Micron, look at this weekly chart right there. A pivot, lower high, lower low. But what happened? We didn't hit that downside target yet. Not yet. I think tomorrow we're going to hit that downside target. Keeping the downside target at 84.18. 84.18, not on the star favorite list because it's not yet closed below that 20-period moving average. If we do hit that target tomorrow and close below the 20, that one could go even lower than what I'm suggesting here. So make sure, Grimmy, if you got to put on that, you got to protect the profits. Don't turn a winner into a loser. All right, next one on deck is DEC, and that's Paul. We're on our way to hit that downside target. I am keeping that on the star favorite at 724.48. Why? Why am I keeping that? Someone tell me in the chat box, why am I keeping that as a star favorite? Roll it out. Come on. You got that one. You got it. The volume is increasing on the way down. Yes. No one said pivot. No one said pivot. That you got to look at price first. Price is always the key. That's why it's the first on the trading checklist. We have a pivot. Make sure that you pay very close attention to Greg Montwell. He's going to be coming on a webinar with me tomorrow. He is definitely a power pivot trader. He and I call these different signals. He calls it power pivots. I call it role reversals, whatever you want. It is a pivot. And so that's going lower on much higher volume. Oscillators are going down. Therefore, a downside target is still in place at 724.48. All right, Paul, congratulations on that. Hopefully you're making money. All right, next one is Fred. This is ZS. All right, Zulu Sierra. This one is pivoting lower as well. It did hit my downside target, so we get a mark on that. I think we're going to go a little bit lower on that one. I think it's going to close below the moving average at 226.96. Look down below. We're 4.81564 away from crossing below that momentum line. Once we get that, how many more days can we expect to get a push to the downside? Tim got it, 2 to 4 days to the downside. So that is ticker ZS. Congratulations again to Fred for hitting that downside target. David Johnson, it was such a pleasure to meet you in Fort Myers. You know, David drove out of his way for the event that we had on the first night. I was so moved because he drove all the way to meet us in Fort Myers just to be able to meet me face to face. That really is something I will never forget, David. I promise you, I remember things like that, and it really touched me. I really appreciate you for that. All right, so VZ, this is Verizon. Let me get the ticker symbol in there correctly. That's for David Johnson. I'm keeping that downside target right there at $40.19. Still on the star favorite list, right? We still got it. Look at the shooting star. Look at the drop in volume yesterday. Look at the oscillators with the sell signal on the CCI, almost a sell signal on the stochastic. So that makes it back on, or remains on the star favorite list to the downside. Now let's go to Stewart. This is Honeywell. Now this is a contractor here. Look at that red candle. This is almost a bearish engulfing, but look at how powerful that pivot is on the CCI. We were just a hair away from closing below that 20-period moving average. Therefore, I'm keeping that to the downside of 197.87. I could put that or keep it on the star favorite, but I'm going to make room on this one. I would have loved to have seen a pivot lower. That would have allowed me to keep it on the star favorite list for next week. We are keeping that target at 197.87 for the record, but I'm gonna move it off the star favorite to be able to make room for more stocks as we move through this webinar tonight. All right, Dan had VXX. This is another hit. We hit this one to the upside. Remember, I was being very conservative with that one. Look at that. We had a $15.23 target. Today's high was $15.25. So we surpassed that by 2 cents. But guess what? I'm still going higher on that one. Going a little bit higher, at least to 15.38. 15.38 on that one. All right, Dan. So not a star favorite. Smiley was FAST. Here's another one on its way to hit that downside target. Look at that volume, folks. That is the second highest volume of the year, and that's on a pivot to the downside. So this one stays on the star favorite list of 66.34. Now, Anthony, real quick, I'm asking Anthony from Sticky Trades a question. When we get done with the star favorite list, do you guys post it to Trade Ideas immediately, and what does that look like for those who are following on the channel, the AJ channel? What does that look like there? You could unmute if you like.
I emailed Trade Ideas as soon as this webinar is over. I'm not sure how fast they get it on the site, but I emailed them immediately.
Yeah,
Okay.
they get it out that evening, AJ.
Okay, good. All right, so for those of you who want Trade Ideas, you could track my star favorites on their platform through the channel that we have there. There's an embedded channel. What's it called, Nod?
The AJ channel.
Oh, it's the AJ channel for the star favorites? Okay. Yeah, so it's not hard to find for those of you that are involved with Trade Ideas. It's a good company. They are working very hard to get all my oscillators on the charts so that we could start doing some broadcasts from their platform. I'm looking forward to that. So just an FYI for all of you. All right, so back to what we were saying with Smiley's stock here fast, keeping that downside target in place at 68.34. I am keeping that on as a star favorite. Next one, Carl, is ticker symbol FI, Foxtrot India. Let me get that ticker in there, right? All right, look at that bearish engulfing. Beautiful. Not a pivot, but a bearish engulfing, like a bearish harami, is almost always a half signal. They are very powerful half signals because they suggest a pivot is about to take place. So I'm keeping that downside target of 137.68. And here's another one, keeping it on the star favorite list. All right, keeping it on the star favorite list. Now, this next one is brought to us by Don Terry in 1994. And that is AMD. AMD, check that target out. This was a 5-parter. So all of you get swag on this one. Let me just review, because like I said in the midweek report, no one in the world is going to do forecasts like this. No one. We were waiting for part 5 to hit, which was that downside target. We got the drop in volume. We got the pivots on the stochastic. We got the sell signal on the CCI. So congratulations to all of you. You got swag. What does that mean? I'm going just a little bit lower. Actually, what I'm going to do is I think it's going to hit that downside target from here. So I'm going to match that up right there with, let me just match that up. That is 150.80. 150.80. Let me just make sure that that matches up perfectly. So it's going to be 150. I like doing it perfectly like that. 150.80 and 150.80 to the downside right there. And that is
AJ, did it hit the high? Did we get all 5 parts on AMD?
Well, we said higher on the 5-part like this. We put more weight into the downside, so we do give out swag for that.
All right,
because it's contingent upon the drop in volume. That's the key.
You're giving out so much stuff. I'm gonna have to start digging up old high school clothes to mail out at this point.
Well, here's what we're working on with Adrian. We're going with targets now, because I'm the only one that's going to the penny on these, and so think of a target as a sewing needle as the target. The pin of the needle is the target. What we're going to do is go plus or minus 0.5% and make that target the size of a penny instead of the size of a pin tip. And so if we get within that, we're going to be giving out a lot more swag, because it really helps with developing target prices for the option traders. So There we go. All right, so swag on that one. Downside target again is 150.80, and I think it's going to cross down below that moving average. Not a star favorite from here on out. Next one, IRM, was brought to us by Neil. Taking a look at that, another bearish engulfing. Pretty impressive how many we got of those today. Pivots forming on the CCI, hinging on the stochastic. Downside target 65, 67, still on the star favorite list. Still on the star favorite list. Now, this is the last of the star favorites from last week. This is Jen. I believe it's Jen Sorg, and this is NFLX. This was contingent upon the drop in volume. We are getting this drop in volume. We are getting pivots. We are getting sell signals on the CCI. So I know this is a long shot, but I'm keeping that as a longer term star favorite to the downside on Netflix at 513.65. 513.65. So Jen, if you got a put spread on that, congratulations and welcome to the world of technical analysis. So here we are, folks. We got 29 minutes to go.
We need it.
I think we're going to do 50. I think we're going to do 50, no problem. I want to add some more content, some real juice and meat to the educational side of what we're doing here. I mean, I could set records and probably do 80 in an hour, but it's going to sound like a blur to those of you who are listening, especially to the recording and fast forward. So Nod, why don't you start labeling some ticker symbols or passing some on, and I'll start adding some more star favorites to the list here. Go ahead.
Okay, man, ready to rock. Here we go. Out of the gate, NVIDIA for Tim Lindsay, Fred V, AB, and 47 other people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
NVDA, please.
NVIDIA. Yeah, NVDA. There it is, NVDA.
We broke it.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, there's the pivot. Increase in volume on the way down. This was a longer term target, by the way. So we still have that one in sight, which is that fan line. But for the short term, yeah, I'm going downside with first star favorite of 594.93. 594.93. For the crowd there that wants it, congratulations, star favorite. Ready, next.
Boom, nice. LRCX for Randy Clegg, please.
Okay, Randy, you still in Lamb Research here? You're waiting for that pivot. We got a pivot. No doubt. Randy, just curious, in the chat box, you still got puts or put spreads? What do you got going there? This is your industry, so you know this one very well. I'm going to help you out if you got some puts, at least. I think we're going to close below that 20-period moving average pretty soon. So I'm putting a 783.36. 783.36. And if you take a look at the weekly on this one, look at that pivot, look at that shooting star, and it looks to me, yeah, we still got a little bit left in this week, but we got the drop in volume as it's forming this little pivot here. So we're still on the downside to that. Not going to be a star favorite though, because not until we see the CCI start to cross below that momentum line. It's a little bit past. It's 4 days past that sell signal. Otherwise, it would have made it to a star favorite. But there you go. That's for Randy Clegg. Randy, congratulations. Good pick on that one. Next.
Okay, Google GOOGL for John K.
Yeah, this one, again, got slammed today. I mean, really hard after earnings. This one is picking up momentum. I'm gonna do a two-parter. Actually, I'm gonna go five-parter on this one. I think Google's going lower. There's forecast number one. I think we're going to see a drop in volume after that, after the excitement of the bad earnings follow through. Then I think we're going to see the CCI, after it drops a little bit, I think we're going to see the CCI pivot on the drop in volume. So there's forecast number three, at which time the price is most likely going to start to go up and cause the stochastic to start to pivot up. So there you go. Downside target, 136.99. The drop in volume. The pivot on the CCI, a move back up after the stochastic starts going up to 144.04. There's your five par for swag. There you go. Next stock.
All right, Orly, ORLY for Jen Sorg, please.
All right, Jen, ORLY. This is one that's come up before in the past, few times actually. We got a pivot there. Let's go downside. We got another star favorite. Enough evidence there. $1,008.60 makes it to the star favorite list. Way to go, Jen. Next stock.
All right, new NUE for 1949, please.
1949, sell it. Look at that bearish Harami. Oh man, I might have too many star favorites, but here we go. 181.66. We got a little bit more than $5 to the downside. Star favorite for Nucor. Next.
All right, STZ first, Paul. This is a swag one.
All right, this one hit the downside target today, so there's a swag winner.
Oh,
No doubt. Got
Paul,
it.
email me.
All right, now I'm going all the way down to this level right here, 239.18. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a target, a dotted line here. Let me see if I can get that to match. 289. What did I say? 289. What's that low there? 239.18. Let me get that to edit. 239.18, and that'll match up perfectly. That is a downside target to that dotted line, not a star favorite because you could see that the stochastic is already oversold. It's the increase in volume, the candle, the close below the 20 that's driving me down to that level, but it's not a star favorite. Next one.
All right, let's go with Caterpillar. CAT for Charles, please.
That's when it came up. I think it came up last week, but it didn't make it to the star favorite list, I don't believe. That's a bearish engulfing. I know that's a far stretch, but I'm keeping that downside target at 285.32. 285.32. Transports and the industrials are still going to get hit, I believe. So keep that on the downside target. There's still a gap down there as well. Not a star favorite, but we'll keep that in place at 285.32. Next one.
All right, TXT, Tango, X-Ray Tango for Anonymous and Paul, please.
Sell it. There we go. Look at how many pivot points we got. That's a bearish engulfing. I got to do this one a little bit differently. I'm going to use a Fibonacci retracement on this one. Some of you probably already know or can see where the 50% retracement is. Guess where? Right there. I think we're going right to that level, right to that moving average. So this is going to be a long downturn here, but I think it could fill that gap. We'll come close to it. $81. And I'm making that a star favorite. I know that's a long shot, but I'm making it a star favorite to the downside. $81 even. Next.
Awesome. Let's go with SMCI for TJ and BW, please.
SMC, Charlie, I?
Yep, correct.
All right, another pivot. But we don't have a hinge yet on the stochastic. So I'm going lower, but it's not a star favorite unless or until we get a hinge on the stochastic. That would make it a little bit better. But 467.52 downside. 467.52 for a super micro computer Inc. Next.
Nice. Amazon, please, for Screaming Chicken.
Here's another mega cap stock on the way down. Look at that. I think it's going to go right down below that 20-period moving average. That would put more weight into the Magnificent 7, soon to be 6. We'll have to see if Kramer adds Tesla back on. I don't think he's the authority that does that, but 151.62. Folks, I just want to show you something. I put together an aggregate chart of the Magnificent 6. All right, this is all the mega caps, or most of the mega caps, and you look at the aggregate on this one, and you'll see that we have now broken out below that most extreme fan line for the Magnificent 6. So you could see it drop all the way back down to the next fan line in the sequence. If you want to know how to do that and you're on Thinkorswim, all you have to do is take those 6 stocks in the symbol box and separate them with a plus sign. That's all you have to do. Apple plus Google plus Meta plus Nvidia plus Microsoft plus Amazon, and there you go. And you could track that as an aggregate chart, okay? Just a little bit of a tool that I use. It works very well, and that adds more downside pressure if you're looking at the technicals on that. All right, next one, Nod, up to you.
Intel, INTC for David Johnson.
David Johnson back on the list here. Intel. This is a tech stock, very popular, of course. This one is having a hard time bouncing, but it looks like it wants to bounce. All right, so this is one of the few that I think we're going to see a bounce, because with the market's getting slammed today, Intel showed some green today, right? So I'm putting this on the star favorite to the upside. 44.38, 44.38, another, what, 2%? perhaps to the upside, maybe 3%. There we go. Next.
All right, First Solar FSLR for Joyce, please.
All right, Joyce, that one looks like it wants to bounce, but we got a conflict. We got an inverted hammer, half signal, increase in volume on that. Look at the mishmash here. We got the stochastics going lower, CCI going higher. I'm going with the CCI. It's my favorite indicator. I'm not a star favorite on this one, but I think 153.53 is in the works there. 153.53. Next stock.
Okay, Microsoft for Isaiah, Jeremy, David B, and 3 others.
All right, sell it. Downside target still in place right there. 378.86. Not moving that, and I could put that on as a star favorite as well. Star favorite of Microsoft. Downside target right there. 378.86. Next.
Nice. AXP for Jeff Clark, please.
American Express, here we come. Downside, shooting star, bearish Harami, negates the bullish engulfing from yesterday. Going downside, oh, I wish I knew how many star favorites we have so far. Maybe, Anthony, you could give me a count and text that over to me. Putting a downside target on that one. I'm trying to save some room for some really super duper star favorites. We got 195.22. 195.22 on the star favorites. I got to put it as a star favorite. The gap below the market, there's too much evidence. So keeping that as a new star favorite, American Express. Next one.
AJ, we're only at 15 stars, so you're in good shape. All right, the next one, HCA for Jay-Z, please.
HCA. All right, Jazz, here we go. Shooting star, but the volume is still going higher. This is crazy. This is going to be a contingent drop in volume. All right, so if we get the drop in volume, then it gets added to the star favorite list, but it has to have the drop in volume first. 293.05 if we get the drop in volume and it gets added to the star favorite. Next.
All right, AMAT, AMAT for Rick T, please.
Applied Materials. This one looks like it's filling the gap. I still think a little bit lower. Possible bounce off of the moving average. Not a star favorite, but I'm going out on a limb. 159.01 to the downside. Then a bounce, possible bounce off of that moving average back up to 161.54 after that hits the downside target. Next.
All right, CELH for Nancy Gibbs, please.
All right, here we go. Celsius Holdings. That one still looks like the bears are in control. Downside, still in play. Look at the stochastic. CCI still going lower. 48.51. Not a star favorite. Next.
All right, Goldman Sachs for MK, please. GS.
All right, MK, sell it. You got a bearish Harami, it looks like. Yes, it is, with a shooting star. Gap below the market. Oh, I wish that stochastic was hinging lower. We'd have a double star favorite, but pretty close. We got two support. We got two targets. Prime target number one is 380.23. And then if it closes below that moving average and hits that, we'll go back right down to 370.239. The reason I'm going with that one is because if you look at the weekly, that is most definitely in a trading channel. Here you have a Greg Montwell power pivot right there. See the support? Broken right there. Turns to resistance. Listen carefully, folks. This is very important. Holds resistance. You see that? I think that could go even a lot lower from here. You look what's happening with some of the banks. Powell is warning as interest rates continue to hold higher. What do you think is going to happen with some of these smaller banks? Do you think that will not affect Goldman Sachs and some of the other bigger brokerage companies and banks? Yeah, it's definitely going to do that. Gino wants me to make that a double star favorite to the downside. Let's see. Hold on, Gino. Oh, I can't do it. Look at the stochastic. I can't do it. Sorry, but I'm going to put that downside target anyway. I reiterated those two targets. Next one. Next time, Gino.
All right, KR for Stewart, please.
KR, this is Kroger. Sell it. Oh, man, look at that. Did we hit that downside target from back then? Let me just see. Hold on. Adrian would know better. 45.50. It got down to 45.50. Look at that. It hits that downside target to the penny and then bounces. Guess what? Here we go, right back down. It closed below that moving average. We got enough evidence for a double star favorite to the downside. I don't know how many double star favorites we got tonight, but there you go. 45.72. 45.72 to the downside for Kroger. Next.
All right, TRV for Stratos, please.
All right, here we go. Travelers Company, sell it again. Look at another bearish engulfing. I think we got a record of bearish engulfings this week. Downside target at 206.97. Not a star favorite. Next stock.
All right, DWAC for Anonymous, please.
All right, we have a bearish position in this one that's already doing very well. I think we're going down on that one. That's a shooting star. Not too much to go on. Oscillators are still mixed, right? We got the stochastic heading lower, CCI kind of plateaued, going downside on that to 33.42. Not a star favorite. Next.
All right, ENPH for Woody, please.
All right, Enphase. I love the battery banks. We got them on our house. We're solared up, let me tell you. But this one does not look like it wants to rally. We got a half signal and a pullback from that 20-period moving average, going slightly lower at 98.92. Next stock.
All right, let's go SOXS for Curtis. That's his favorite.
All right, it's inversely related to the semiconductor. It's a bearish fund. You can see that we hit the target today from last week. I'm going to go a little bit higher on that one because we've got an increase in volume on the way up. Even though that's red, it's still going up, and look down below. So we'll go to upside target on that to possibly fill this gap. I mean, you got a gap here, you got a gap here. Go one gap at a time. I think we're going to fill the lower gap first at $5.73. Next stock.
All right, let's go Citigroup. Big C for Mark P, please.
The bank, sell it. Shooting star, bearish Harami, dropping volume on the way up. Gap below the market. Oscillators pivoting lower. Double star favorite to the downside, 54.34. Who is that?
That was for Mark P.
All right, Mark. Congratulations. That's a good one. Next.
All right, let's go Lululemon. Lulu for Jersey, please.
Lulu, for all you like the white, spandex tighties as you're working out on your treadmill. Look at that. We got a downside target. That was not a star favorite, but it definitely hit the downside target. That was a pretty incredible forecast there. This one still looks like it wants to go lower because the momentum is continuing to the downside. You know what I'm going to do? I just got to check this one here. Did that target hit a 447.30? Let's see. 440. Let me see. 4 low is 4. All right. I'm going to go with that low. 447.30 right there. Let me just put that out to the side, match that up. That's my downside target. The volume is increasing, and I think that one is definitely a contender to the downside. So 447.30, and make that an even number, 447.30. There we go, matched up. That's the target, not a star favorite. Next stock.
All right, McKesson, MCK for Amit.
All right, here we go, McKesson. Yeah, I've been experiencing McKesson instruments today with my lung condition here, getting the, what do they call that thing, the vaporizer or whatever it is, getting in my lungs.
Nebulizer.
A nebulizer, yeah, it's a McKesson product. I can't use it though. My wife and I stayed up all night with the nebulizer, stupid thing. Couldn't sleep a wink. Anyway, downside target, not against McKesson because of that, but downside target of 488.52. Here's a contingency, if we get a CCI hinge, then we're putting that as a double star favorite to 488.52. Now that'd be $11 drop if we get that hinge. So it's really a two-part contingency. The drop in volume first will cause the CCI to drop. So that's a good option trade right there, folks. For those of you looking for a diagonal, I would go maybe slightly out of the money on your long leaps. I wouldn't go too far in the money with that one. All right, next one. We'll go.
All right, let's go with the RUM. RUM for Lee, please.
All right, Lee. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Bullish engulfing. Check that out. Haven't seen too much of that. Rumble on the way up. This is this platform is really gaining a lot of momentum, a lot of new channels, a lot more editing and contributors coming on there. I think they're going to give YouTube a run for the money. And so 737 on the upside, that is a momentum play right there based on the increase in volume on that bullish engulfing. You know what? I could go a little bit higher with that one. Let me do that. Hold on. I'm going to go I'm going to go up to 750 on that one. A little bit higher. There we go. 750 even to the upside on Rumble. Not a star favorite, just a momentum play. Next.
Okay, VRT for Elise, please.
Elise, here we go. Pivot lower. Oscillator starting to hinge here. That's a pivot on the C side, but negative divergence. Drop in volume on the way up after a slight stale green candle there. I'm going downside of 53.75. Not a star favorite. Thank you.
Okay, CVX for David, please.
All right, we put a publication out on this one. Hopefully, folks, you got it. We did some rolling. We took a credit in on this one. That is a bearish engulfing. I'm going lower on this one to fill the gap. Star favorite to the downside, 144. I'm going to make that 145. Let's get not crazy here. 145 on that. Let me round up a penny. All right, so 145 star favorite to the downside. Next.
Great. Let's go Qualcomm. QCOM for Jerry, please.
All right, QCON. This one, well, this one was a mover, I believe, today. Let's see. Yes, bullish engulfing. Buy that one. Going upside, not a star favorite, but I'm putting an upside target of 152.63. Let me slow that down a little bit. Let me slow this down because we're at 50 stocks right now. They reported after hours. We got to be careful with that because I don't want to get caught with earnings. I don't have time to check on these. So look at this. See this? This is, I'm going to have to remove that because of the earnings. All right. This is, you know what? It's not going to make it as a star favorite. It's not going to make it as a star favorite, but I will keep the upside target because of the bullish engulfing nonetheless. All right. So they might try to manipulate that one higher tomorrow. We'll see. 152.63, not a star favorite. Next.
All right, HSML for Eric A, please.
HSML. No, that's not coming up.
Sorry, ASML. I lied.
Oh,
ASML.
that's it. ASML.
Autocorrect.
Sell
Sorry.
it. It's an ADR, but that's a shooting star. Drop in volume yesterday on the bearish Rami. Downside target. How many star favorites we have, Anthony? I'll go with this one as a star favorite to the downside. 830.48. 830.48. Look at the trading checklist. You take a look at that. Everything is looking like a sell on that one. Okay, so downside target, and that is a star favorite. Next one.
Okay, BKR for Candy, please.
BKR, this is one that we had a position in. This one looks like it wants to go lower, going slightly lower because you got a pivot on the CCI and still continued downside momentum on the stochastic. So 28.19. 28.19. Next.
All right, Baba, BABA for Sully, please.
Yeah, this one's in trouble. I mean, look at this long-term trend on this, folks. I mean, I hate to even talk about this one because it just keeps drifting lower to new 52-week lows. But going lower to fill the gap, it closed below that moving average. Downside target is 69.63. Next.
ZMH for Kelly, please.
Z is in Zulu
Correct. Z is in Zulu, M is in Mike,
and
H is in
hotel.
hotel. ZBH, let's try that.
All right, ZBH. There we go. That one is a shooting star. Oscillators are overbought on the CCI, going lower on a drop in volume. They'll be contingent, but it's not a star favorite. So I'm just going to put a downside target of 122.79. Next, we got
Okay, let's go Pfizer. PFE for Anthony, please.
PFE. Pfizer probably trying to struggle with a bounce here. You got the first drop in volume here after a pretty significant stale red light. So that's the only reason I'm going higher is because of the drop in volume, the spinning top. Pfizer upside target at 27.57, not a star favorite. Thank you. Rob, you're ahead of me. You're looking at that little box. You must have magnifying glasses on. Go ahead, next one.
All right, let's go CCL for JTM, please.
Carnival Cruise, we got these people that are spending money in the last two, Rob, before bankruptcy. But hate to say it, that looks like it's going lower. Shooting star after shooting star, downside target of 15.84. Not a star favorite. Stochastic is going up. CCI is hinging. Next stock.
MDB for Thomas, please.
MDB. All right, that one pivoting lower, increase in volume on the way down, cross below the momentum line, 389.76. Doesn't look much, but that's $11 lower. Not a star favorite. Next.
All right, ASML for Eric, please.
Didn't we do this one? Yeah, we did this one.
All right, sorry, I'm a terrible person. All right, let's go Shopify for Ryan K, please.
All right, Shopify, sell it. It's about to cross below that 20-period moving average. Look it down below. Bingo. Check that out, folks. That's a big, big tell. That's a big tell. So I think we're going to cross below that 20-period moving average. Downside target on that. Ready? Let get that data box to come up. 77.34. 77.34. Not a star favorite.
All right, let's go cold, KOLD for Christopher P.
All right, this is on the move, opposite to Boyle. Pivot lower. That could mean Boyle going higher, by the way. This is a star favorite to the downside, 93.53. Who was that again?
That was for Christopher P.
All right, Christopher P. Thank you.
All right, let's go FAZ for Kyle, please.
F is in Foxtrot.
Correct. A is in Alpha, Z is in Zulu.
All right, this is the bearish ETF here for the financials. That's going higher than me. It looks like up to the moving average. We got another star favorite, 1331, 1331. That's not a big long shot, but we're still keeping it as a star favorite. Next.
Okay, let's go with our old friend Boyle, please. BOIL for Anonymous.
It's going to be just the opposite of what we saw in cold, so I'm going to go higher on that. We got to pivot. I'm not going to go crazy to the upside. But that's 27.20, 27.20, not a star favorite. Next.
Okay, let's go Boeing. They've had a lot of news. For Thomas Lee Davidson, please. BA.
Yeah, we have a beautiful call spread on this one on Boeing, and I think it's going to work out very well. We got to pivot higher. I'm keeping this upside target at 219.74. 219.74. That is going to keep it on the star favorite because we got down below a couple of pennies away from crossing over the momentum line. So 2 to 4 more days to the upside. We'll bring it up there, up to the 60 to 219.74 level. Okay, next.
PTLO for Dan Nichols, please.
PTLO. Thank you, Dan. That one's pivoting away from that 20-period moving average, gap below the market. Star favorite to the downside, 1341. You know, that's not enough move to keep it as a star favorite. Let's get a bigger mover, but I'll still keep that downside target on that at 1341. Fill the gap. Next.
All right, well, this is the longest we've gone without Tesla, please. TSLA for a bunch of people.
Yeah, what's going on? Everyone loves Tesla. Well, this one I think is going to go lower. Here's a two-parter, but it's not going to be a star favorite. I think it's going to test that low, and I think Elon Musk is going to try to pull out a rabbit out of his hat to pump his stock up again. You see what's going on in the court system. I think it's outrageous that they're trying to mess with his payout. But anyway, downside target on that one is 181.32, then right back up after a drop in volume at 192.03. Next one. Next.
All right, FXI, please. That's for Mark.
FXI. How many is this, Anthony? FXI. Look at all the gaps. This is a hard one to trade, really.
55.
I think, how many? 55? All right, I'm going downside
65.
on that.
65.
This is 65? Okay. Going downside on that, not a star favorite at 21.19. 21.19. So that is 65 in 60 minutes. And I think I only coughed twice. I'll have to see. But folks, I had a great time tonight. Thank you so much. Make sure that you plug in to the weekly market report. We need every bit of your help to promote that market report on all the social media pages. Please help us do that. You're helping us grow. You're helping the market. You're helping investors learn how to read charts by sharing the information. And with that, folks, I'm going to wish you a good night, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Bye-bye.